Charlotte Kensington's rise to success was nothing short of extraordinary. Born into a modest family in a small town, she grew up understanding the value of hard work. From a young age, she dreamed of building something significant, something that would not only lift her out of her circumstances, but also make her family proud. Every step of her climb was earned. She worked 2 jobs while studying for her business degree, often burning the midnight oil while others rested. Sacrifice became second nature. She missed birthdays, holidays, and even her own graduation celebration, choosing instead to invest every spare moment into her dream. Through sheer grit, Charlotte built her company from the ground up. What started as a small online retail business soon grew into a nationwide brand, employing hundreds and generating millions in revenue. But success came with its price. She had faced moments of doubt, betrayals from partners, and the weight of exhaustion. Still, Charlotte never wavered. And then, during a business gala in London, she met James Whitmore. He was everything she thought she needed at that time: handsome, charismatic, and attentive. His charm was effortless, and his words seemed sincere. "Charlotte, you've done something incredible," he said that evening, his deep voice carrying a note of admiration. "You've built an empire with nothing but your determination. I want to be there for you, to support you in every way I can." Those words stayed with her. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to believe she could lean on someone else. James became her partner, her confidant, and soon, her husband. Together, they moved into an elegant estate just outside London, a home that reflected the success Charlotte had fought so hard to achieve. Their son, Henry Kensington Whitmore, was the heart of their home. At just 12 years old, he already displayed remarkable intelligence and a sense of humor that kept the family laughing. He adored his mother, often watching her work with wide-eyed admiration. "Mom, one day I want to be just like you," he'd say, his voice full of sincerity. Charlotte's heart would swell with pride every time she heard those words. To the outside world, they were the picture of a perfect family. A loving mother, a devoted husband, and a bright, cheerful son living a life most could only dream of. But as we'll soon see, appearances can often be deceiving. Before we move further into this emotional tale, take a moment to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a story like this. Late one night, Charlotte sat alone in her home office. The house was quiet, the only sound the faint ticking of the antique clock on the wall. Her desk was littered with papers, financial reports, bank statements, and company ledgers. This was her usual routine, double-checking every detail to ensure her business stayed on track. But tonight, something didn't add up. Her brow furrowed as she scanned a particular bank statement. Several large transactions had been made to accounts she didn't recognize. At first, she thought it might be a mistake, perhaps an oversight by her finance team. But as she traced the transactions, her heart began to race. "These aren't company expenses. What is this?" she muttered to herself. With trembling hands, she opened more statements. The pattern was undeniable. Money was disappearing, and it wasn't going to any known vendors or partners. As she pieced the evidence together, a chilling realization dawned on her. James. Her breath caught in her throat. The man she had trusted, the man who had promised to stand by her side, was stealing from her. Secret accounts had been set up in his name, and for months, maybe longer, he had been siphoning away her hard-earned wealth. Charlotte's chest tightened as she leaned back in her chair, the weight of betrayal crushing her. Memories of his charm, his supportive words, and their life together flashed through her mind, now tainted by the bitter sting of deceit. Her eyes brimmed with tears, but she refused to let them fall. "How could he do this to us?" she whispered, her voice breaking. For hours, she sat in the dimly lit office, clutching the incriminating documents. Anger, sorrow, and disbelief swirled within her, each emotion battling for dominance. But as dawn broke and the first rays of sunlight filtered through the window, something inside her shifted. She looked at a framed photo on her desk, Henry's smiling face beaming back at her. That image was all she needed to regain her resolve. Enough, she said firmly, her voice steady now. I have to protect him. I have to protect everything I've worked for. Charlotte began making a plan. She wouldn't confront James just yet. Not until she had every piece of evidence secured and every legal safeguard in place. This wasn't just about her. It was about ensuring her son's future and defending the legacy she had built from the ground up. Charlotte's heartbreak was undeniable, but so was her determination. The question was no longer why James had done this. It was how she would stop him. And her next move would change everything. Charlotte Kensington was no stranger to challenges, and she wasn't about to let James Whitmore destroy everything she had built. The moment she realized the depth of his betrayal, she switched into strategist mode. This was not just a fight for her wealth, it was a battle to protect her son's future. Charlotte worked quickly and quietly. The next morning, she contacted a highly recommended legal firm in London, known for their expertise in high-profile financial disputes. Within hours, she was sitting across from a team of top-tier lawyers and financial advisors. Mr. Whitmore has been funneling money into private accounts, she explained, sliding the documents across the table. Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned with determination. I want to ensure he cannot touch a single penny more. The team sprang into action, mapping out a strategy to secure her assets. Every angle was analyzed, every loophole anticipated. Charlotte made it clear, she wanted her wealth safeguarded not just for herself, but for Henry. Over the following days, Charlotte worked tirelessly. She began transferring her properties and business holdings into a secure trust fund, with Henry as the sole beneficiary. It was a tedious process, requiring endless paperwork and countless late nights, but Charlotte never faltered. One by one, she thought, watching as her empire was gradually placed out of James' reach. I'm locking every door he thought he could walk through. Her financial advisors were impressed by her foresight. You're thinking 10 steps ahead, one of them remarked during a late-night meeting. She gave a faint smile, though her mind was focused. I can't afford not to, she replied. Meanwhile, Charlotte kept up appearances at home. To James, it seemed like business as usual. He had no idea she had discovered his scheme. She played her role perfectly, calm, composed, and unbothered. But behind closed doors, she was dismantling his plans piece by piece. Every action she took was deliberate, every move calculated. And as the days turned into weeks, the foundation of James' hidden agenda began to crumble, though he remained blissfully unaware. Little did James know, Charlotte was always 10 steps ahead. While he planned to take everything she had worked for, she was crafting a strategy that would leave him with nothing. If this story has you hooked, make sure you like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories. Hit the notification bell because things are about to get intense. James Whitmore had been planning his next move for months. Confident that Charlotte remained unaware of his schemes, he believed the time was right to strike. He filed for divorce, presenting himself as the supportive husband who had sacrificed his ambitions for the sake of their family. Walking into the courtroom on the first day of the proceedings, James wore a smug grin. Dressed in a sharp suit, he exuded confidence, as if victory was already in his hands. His lawyer, a seasoned litigator, stood by his side, ready to argue that James deserved half of everything Charlotte owned. This is a simple matter, Your Honor, his lawyer began, addressing the court. My client has been a devoted husband and father, supporting Mrs. Kensington Whitmore through her rise to success. He is entitled to his fair share of their marital assets. James nodded, his expression one of feigned humility. Inside, he was already counting the fortune he expected to claim. But on the other side of the courtroom, Charlotte sat quietly. Her face was composed, her eyes steady. Dressed in a simple yet elegant outfit, she exuded an air of calm authority. She had no need to argue or boast. Her strategy was already in motion. The tension in the room was palpable. James' lawyer continued to paint a picture of him as a victim, a man who had sacrificed his dreams for the sake of his wife's ambitions. While Mrs. Kensington Whitmore built her business empire, Mr. Whitmore stayed behind the scenes, ensuring their family remained intact. His contributions may not have been visible, but they were invaluable, the lawyer declared, his voice ringing with conviction. Charlotte remained silent, her hands resting lightly on the table in front of her. Her lawyer, a sharp and composed woman named Evelyn Hart, waited patiently for her turn to speak. As the arguments from James' side came to a close, Evelyn stood. She walked to the center of the courtroom, her presence commanding immediate attention. Your Honor, Evelyn began, her voice measured and clear. What my client has achieved, she has done through her own hard work and dedication. And we intend to prove that not only did Mr. Whitmore contribute nothing to her success, but he also acted with deceitful intent. The room fell silent. James' smug expression faltered for the first time. Evelyn continued. We have evidence, Your Honor, that Mr. Whitmore established secret accounts and misappropriated funds from Mrs. Kensington Whitmore's business, all while plotting to claim half of her assets through this very divorce. Gasps echoed through the courtroom. James' confidence evaporated, replaced by a pale, strained look. The courtroom battle had begun, and James quickly realized he was not the one in control. Charlotte had prepared for every argument, every lie. And now, the truth was coming to light. The courtroom was silent, the tension almost suffocating, as Evelyn Hart approached the judge's bench with a stack of meticulously prepared documents. Charlotte watched her lawyer with quiet confidence, knowing the moment she had worked so hard for was finally here. Your Honor, Evelyn began, her voice firm and clear. We have irrefutable evidence that Mr. Whitmore has not only been untruthful, but has actively engaged in financial misconduct. Evelyn handed the documents to the court clerk, who distributed copies to the judge and James' legal team. The judge adjusted his glasses and began to review the pages, his expression shifting as he read. Evelyn continued, her tone unwavering. These bank records show multiple unauthorized transfers from Mrs. Kensington Whitmore's business accounts into private accounts controlled solely by Mr. Whitmore. In addition, we have documented his attempts to hide these transactions by routing them through intermediaries. The evidence was damning. Evelyn clicked a button on her tablet, projecting an image onto the courtroom screen. It displayed a timeline of transfers, accompanied by email exchanges between James and an associate, detailing his plans to siphon money without raising suspicion. Gasps rippled through the room. Spectators exchanged shocked glances, and even the judge's usually stoic demeanor betrayed a flicker of surprise. Charlotte remained calm, her posture steady and composed. She didn't need to say a word. Her preparation and foresight were speaking for her. Across the courtroom, James' arrogance crumbled. His once smug grin was replaced by a pale, panicked expression. He shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his hands fidgeting with the edge of his jacket. Your Honor, Evelyn concluded. These records prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that Mr. Whitmore not only failed to contribute to Mrs. Kensington Whitmore's success but actively sought to undermine her financial stability for his own gain. The judge set the documents down, his face stern. Mr. Whitmore, he said, his voice heavy with authority. Do you have anything to say for yourself? James stammered, his confidence shattered. I didn't. I wasn't, he began, but his words faltered as the weight of the evidence bore down on him. Charlotte glanced at him, her expression unreadable. She felt no need to gloat or berate him. Her triumph was in her silence, in the knowledge that she had protected what truly mattered, her son and her legacy. The judge delivered his ruling swiftly. James' claims were dismissed, his deceit exposed for all to see. The court awarded Charlotte full control of her assets and sole custody of Henry. As the gavel struck, a wave of relief washed over Charlotte. She sat tall, her eyes steady, filled with the quiet determination that had carried her through this ordeal. James Whitmore's plan had unraveled before his eyes. The man who once thought he held all the cards now found himself empty-handed, his schemes exposed. And through it all, Charlotte stood strong, a woman who refused to be defeated. The courtroom was silent as the judge prepared to deliver his final ruling. All eyes were on him, the weight of the moment palpable. The evidence presented is undeniable, the judge began, his tone firm and decisive. He glanced briefly at James, whose face was drained of color. "This court finds the respondent's claims baseless and deceitful." The judge raised his gavel. "All claims by the respondent are denied. Full control of assets and sole custody of the minor child, Henry Kensington Whitmore, is granted to the petitioner, Charlotte Kensington." The sharp crack of the gavel echoed through the courtroom, and with it, a sense of finality swept over the room. Charlotte closed her eyes for a moment, letting the relief wash over her. She had done it. James sat motionless, his once arrogant demeanor replaced by a hollow, defeated expression. The man who had walked into the courtroom with confidence and entitlement was now exposed for who he truly was, a manipulator who had underestimated Charlotte's strength and resolve. As the courtroom emptied, James slunk away quietly, avoiding the gazes of those around him. News of his failed schemes quickly spread, tarnishing his reputation. Friends distanced themselves, and his social circle evaporated. The life of luxury he had envisioned was now out of reach, and the consequences of his actions left him humiliated and alone. Charlotte, on the other hand, walked out of the courtroom with her head held high. She was greeted by Henry, who ran up to her, wrapping his arms tightly around her waist. "You did it, Mom," he whispered, his voice filled with pride. "Yes, we did," she replied softly, her eyes brimming with tears. Her victory wasn't just about money or property. It was about protecting her son and proving to herself that she was capable of overcoming even the most daunting challenges. James Whitmore left the courtroom a defeated man, his schemes laid bare for all to see. Meanwhile, Charlotte's strength and determination had not only secured justice but also ensured a brighter future for her and Henry. If this story has inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a moment of drama and triumph. Charlotte Kensington stood in the doorway of her new home, a cozy and modest house on the outskirts of London. It wasn't the sprawling estate she once lived in, but to her, it was far more valuable. The warmth and love she felt within its walls were irreplaceable. The transition hadn't been easy, but Charlotte faced it with the same strength and determination that had carried her through the court battle. She spent her days rebuilding her life, not just for herself, but for Henry. Henry, now 12 years old, was thriving. He often sat at the small dining table doing his homework while Charlotte worked on her laptop nearby. Every so often, he'd glance up at her and smile, his admiration for her clear in his eyes. "Mom," he said one evening, his voice thoughtful, "you're the strongest person I know. I hope I can be like you when I grow up." Charlotte's heart swelled with pride. She knelt beside him, brushing a strand of hair from his face. "You already are, Henry. And you'll do even greater things." Their home wasn't filled with expensive furniture or grand decor, but it was rich with love, laughter, and a sense of security that had been missing for so long. Charlotte's focus was on creating a life of stability for Henry while continuing to grow her business on her own terms. She also found time to give back. Charlotte began mentoring young entrepreneurs, sharing her story as a lesson in resilience and integrity. She became a source of inspiration for others, proving that no obstacle was too great to overcome with determination and honesty. Charlotte's story is a testament to the power of perseverance. She didn't just survive the storm, she emerged stronger, wiser, and more focused than ever. Her journey reminds us all that even in the darkest times, integrity and courage will light the way. As the camera pans out, Charlotte is seen sitting on the porch with Henry, both of them laughing as the sun sets in the distance, a perfect picture of peace and hope. Thank you for watching this powerful story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Hit the notification bell so you never miss another inspiring tale.